Hey everybody, Chris McGraw here, Almost Adventurous. If you'll notice these jackets behind me, they all have one thing in common. They are all filled with down, which is an incredibly great filler insulator. If you're going somewhere that is either too cold for it to get wet, so we're talking below freezing point, so if it's just going to be snowy, dry snow, or if you're in a dry climate, like I tend to be out here in Colorado. We don't get a ton of rain here, but that's where down really thrives. But today we're actually going to be talking about a synthetic jacket, specifically the Patagonia DOS Parka. So this one is a couple years old. So this is actually not the current gen DOS Parka, but actually from, let's look at the tag here. I'm gonna guess 14, yes, fall of 2014. And I was looking for this one for a while. This is a bit of a grail item for me, just because I love the DOS Parka so much. This is my fourth one. And you might be thinking to yourself, Chris, you've had 4 DOS Parkas. Do they just like break or shred, or what's the deal? The answer to that is no, they don't. I had a size small in the previous generation to this that I ended up selling because I just wasn't using it at the time. Wasn't, going outside and belaying people or bouldering. It just didn't end up using it. I used one of these jackets instead. And then I got a size medium of the previous generation to this, and that thing was huge on me. And so I was a little concerned when looking for this, and I originally found this purple one in a size small, so I snagged that. But in between the 2 generations of DOS Parka, Patagonia changed the sizing. They tend to do this with a lot of different garments. Most frustratingly for people, the better sweater garments, because nothing else seems to really change a whole lot on those except for the fit, which can be frustrating because if you have a size medium that you love the fit on, you go to the store and find out, oh, it's not slim fit anymore, it's more boxy. And anyway, I digress. So I bought a size small, and like a lot of things with Patagonia, I tend to be somewhere in the middle between a small and a medium. I wore that small for a season, wore it a lot last winter. Spent quite a bit of time in Michigan last winter. Very humid, cold, wet climate. So it just performs better than down in that sort of situation. And it was just a little bit short on me. I'm 5'7", so not a lot of things are short on me. I've really short legs and like a longer torso for people my height and a longer wingspan. So it's like around 5'9" wingspan. And it just was coming up, a little bit too far for me. And so for a jacket, this is a belay jacket. And so it's meant to be worn over all your other garments. So not under a shell, but over everything else. And so for something to be just like a little bit tight, I found that kind of annoying. So what I ended up doing is I found a guy who was selling this not too far away from me in a size medium, bought that one, sold the size small. Actually sold the size small for as much as I paid for both the small and medium. So essentially got this one for free in great condition. And I've been testing it out quite a bit here in 2022, 2023. And very happy with it. I have not tested the newest, so like the DOS Light or the DOS hoodie that are current, but I also have a Hyper Puff hoodie, which is what replaced this from Patagonia, and so I'm kind of doing a comparison test right now of those two, plus the Macro hoodie, which I picked up a couple weeks ago for super cheap. So just doing a test between those 3. I'll have a comparison coming up soon, as well as individual reviews of all 3 of those jackets. For right now, let's go through all the features of this DOS hoodie. first things first, like I said, this one, fall 2014. I will tell you exactly what I paid for it. I paid $60 for it on Facebook Marketplace and another $15 for gas money for my cousin who went and picked it up for me, just because I couldn't get out of the house with a little kiddo running around. So $75 total, and picked this bad boy up. A steal at that price. Honestly, a steal at probably twice that price I would have been okay with spending for a jacket like this. First things first, I already said that, but second things second, love this color. Like I said before, purple, I'm a fan. So if we look at the purple of the down sweater hoodie here, it's a little bit darker, and it comes with some red accents. Not too dissimilar from the first Nano Air that came out around that same time. So that's, I mean, this thing caught my eye. I think the colors of this generation are some of my favorites. My cousin, who actually picked this up for me, had a blue one with like a lime green interior that was also very nice. And this was the first generation of the Das Parka, I believe, to come in a women's fit as well, which I have not tested out. My wife has tested out the Hyper Puff, which replaced this in the women's fit. When she was pregnant last year, we went to the sand dunes, but that's a whole other story that I will talk about during the Hyper Puff review. All right, so like I said, the fit is a little bit more trim, more than maybe the previous generation. This is not by any means a slim fit jacket, and nor should it be, because it has to go over all of your stuff. It's got a nice hood with a visor here. Fits very comfortably over a climbing helmet. If you're not wearing a climbing helmet, well, if you're belaying, you should be wearing a climbing helmet. A lot of times I'll wear this, you know, if I'm bouldering outside in the winter, I'll wear this when I'm not, you know, actively trying to get up a project. So I'm not going to have a climbing helmet on. You can cinch the hood real easily back here. Some other things, other features, got some drop-in pockets, mesh pockets on the inside here, one on the left and one on the right. I do love those. In the winter, I do have like a wide grip now, or a wide mouth Nalgene, but my favorite one is just like a narrow mouth Nalgene, because the wide ones tend to, you know, I can't drink out of them without making a mess. They can freeze up though. That's the one thing about the wide mouth that I like, is that they don't freeze up, but the narrow one can. Just throw your Nalgene in here and it'll be somewhat next to you. Keep your water from freezing. What else do we got on the inside? Yeah, cinches down at the bottom as well. So you got the two cinches here. And that's pretty much it for the inside. Moving on to the sleeves. The cuffs are simple, yet they do what I want them to. It's kind of like, you know, it's just this elastic cuff. This thing is almost a decade old and the elasticity is still there. To be fair, I don't think it was used a whole lot. So yeah, elasticity still here in that cuff as well. That's been something that I found to be a bit troubling on the Hyper Puff that replaced this. So it's something that I don't necessarily take for granted anymore. This Fitz Roy Parka is also a belay jacket. It's got a little bit different of a cuff, and just not as good for me. Yeah, this one just kind of, it does let the down kind of come over your wrist, so that way it's not, it's still insulating. Here, there's no insulation here. So I kind of get why they did that after this generation, but you know, sometimes something super simple that just works is all you need. And in that case, that's what I like about these cuffs. Pockets on the exterior. So we got these hand warming pockets here, the little zipper with the rubber pole, which I kind of talked about last time. We got another one on this side here. No insulation on the interior of the pockets. There is insulation on the exterior. Zip that up. And then one chest pocket. At one point, these did come with stuff sacks. This one did not for me. Stuff sacks in general, when they're in my possession, tend to get lost fairly quickly. And a lot of the jackets that I buy secondhand don't come with them, so I have a feeling that stuff sacks in general with everybody tend to get lost. Though I do think I still have my Fitz Roy stuff sack. I do, yeah. So it's a nice thing to have. You can always buy them separately too. Synthetic will keep you warm even in moist or wet conditions, but it does not pack down anywhere near as good as down. So this thing will pack down nice and small. The DOS does not pack down as well. So that's something to consider. If you're, it's not something I consider, like, it's not my top priority, but it's just something to know about ahead of time when you're packing for a trip. Most of the time, I'm not bringing this on like a long backpacking trip. It's just like something, I walk in from my car. So it's not really too much of an issue. All right, so we got the zippers covered. Let's talk a little bit about this insulation. So DAS stands for dead air space. And there's two kinds of insulation in this jacket. We have 100-gram PrimaLoft Synergy insulation throughout the entire jacket. So throughout the sleeves, throughout the body, the hood, everything. 120-gram PrimaLoft Synergy insulation. And then additionally, in the core areas, we have 60 grams of PrimaLoft 1 insulation. So we're talking, you can tell once I throw this jacket on, the bulkier areas of that jacket, we have an additional 60-gram insulation there. So the latter being like a higher quality synthetic insulation, and then the 120-gram is maybe a little bit of an inferior insulation, but it could be, like, when we're talking about inferior, so like inferior to the PrimaLoft 1 just means that you're probably getting a little bit less loft or less insulation for the weight, but that also could mean, maybe it breathes better. So inferior, I don't know. Inferior is a negative word, obviously, negative connotations there. I think just different insulation throughout performs for different reasons. So there you go. The exterior, we have ripstop. The DWR on this, you can barely see, but the DWR on this has long since run out. So I'll just have to retreat it every now and then. The exterior is actually a 1.2 ounce 20 denier nylon ripstop. So it's fairly light. It's not as light as 10 denier on, I believe the Macro Puff hoodie has 10. That being said, I've already had to repair that jacket after just a few weeks of, it came to me in need of repairs. And then after just a few weeks of where I did tear a hole in it. This one, 20 denier on paper doesn't sound that thick. It's definitely not like as thick as something like this jacket, but this thing is pretty durable. I wouldn't go bushwhacking with it on or anything like that. There are very few jackets that I would take bushwhacking. Definitely none of my belay jackets. But it has held up. Both this one and the size small that I had, I have yet to, knock on wood, rip a hole in it. So that's good. Yeah, so insulation, great. People comparing it from the previous generation to this one, they say, oh, this one's not as warm. I'd have to disagree. I think that this one is warmer. It's close, but not that close for me. I can easily walk around with just a t-shirt on and this jacket if I'm just like walking around town, especially if it's sunny out. But yeah, I think this is an incredibly warm jacket. It's fairly lightweight too compared to the previous generation. Feels a lot lighter, feels just better constructed. Comparing it to the Hyper Puff, that's a whole different animal. They created a whole different like kind of jacket to replace this. And there are pros and cons to that. This one's definitely a little bit heavier. As to whether or not the Hyper Puff is warmer, certain situations, I would say. But more on that later. Let me get this chair out of the way. I'll throw this bad boy on and we'll see how it fits. I do love this color for a few different reasons. I love purple, but I also love how well this hides dirt. So a few of my previous jackets have been like a chartreuse yellowy green color, and it just shows the dirt like crazy. So this is great because it doesn't show dirt at all. In fact, there's stains all over this thing and you wouldn't know it, just because depending on what light you're in, it's gonna be different color purple. I wonder what it looks like on camera right now. I haven't actually filmed this thing before, but even looking down at it, it's just like there's multiple shades of purple depending on, you know, I got blue light here, got a orangish light overhead, got light from my computer over there. One thing I did not mention, which is a huge deal, is the double zipper. So if I'm belaying somebody, I'm gonna have my climbing harness on, which is gonna be right about here. So if I didn't have this double zipper, I'm gonna have to keep this thing open. Keep this thing open, air gets out, I'm gonna be cold, what's the point? So zip this thing up, zip it up all the way. Feels nice on the chin too, there's no, it's just that same nylon. Keep it open so I'm not interfering with the microphone here. But then you just zip here, you got your harness, zip down, and you can belay. So there you go, all set there. Body of it. So like I said, 5'7", 155-ish, 160. It's a little bit big on me when I'm wearing just a t-shirt. That is the point. Do a little, covers down to, you know, upper hamstrings. This is a size medium. I put my arms out and we're good. We're good with the arms. It's not pulling up at the cuffs or anything. So there we go. Throw the hood up. I love this hood. So I'm just wearing a beanie right now and it's not like flopping down in front of my eyes. Got a nice little visor there too. And like I said, you could adjust it in the back. So there you go, that's the fit of the DAS. Sometimes I call it the DAS. You can call it whatever you want, unless you're a, you know, Patagonia marketing employee probably. Yeah, really dig this jacket. Where does it fit for me in terms of like winter gear? To be honest with you, let's see, looking at these 4 back here, I wear this one more than either of these 4. So we got the down sweater pullover, the Fitz Roy, the North Face Windstopper Summit Series, and then a Himalaya Summit Series here. Yeah, I wear it more often than those 4 for sure. For different reasons. I wear it more than this because this is just kind of a big, bulky jacket. This one's a little short on me. This one, I feel like it's almost too delicate. And it lets the wind in just so much. And then this one, you know, being a pullover, it is just a little bit tougher to wear. I carry my daughter like in like one of those chest carriers a lot. And this one's like big enough that I can zip up and kind of have both of us in tightly, but they, you know, both of us can fit underneath this jacket, which is probably why I've grabbed this season more than anything else. And the color purple. Love the color purple. Some people love it, some people hate it. I just happen to be the former. yeah, so that's pretty much it with the Das Parka. Oh, one thing I did want to mention, I kind of touched on it when I was talking about the Fitz Roy down Parka, how that one lets in the wind. This one, actually, the exterior is windproof, according to Patagonia. This is a quote from their site. So it's 1.2 ounce, 20 denier, 100% nylon PU coated ripstop with a DWR finish. Lightweight PU coated nylon ripstop shell is durable, water resistant, and windproof. Windproof, not wind resistant, windproof. So that's a huge deal for me, just between this and maybe some of the down gear, which is why I reach for this a little bit more often. But overall, if you see one of these on, Poshmark or whatever, Goodwill, wherever you like to do your secondhand clothing shopping, and it's under $100, I think it's like a no-brainer, especially if it's in a good condition. So if you could, just hit subscribe, hit the alarm. I think, is that still a thing? Hit the bell, so you'll be notified when new videos go up. I'm trying to release one jacket review and like one YouTube short a week. Those will go out hopefully on Tuesdays. Also, if you follow me on Twitter at Almost Adventurous, it's a little weird, funky spelling. I'll throw it down in the description. I do tweet out outdoor gear deals. One that I saw recently on Poshmark was actually a Piton hybrid hoodie, which I wasn't super familiar with until I was reading some articles by one of the Patagonia ambassadors, Colin Haley. He says that it's lighter weight than the R1 and blocks more wind than the R1. And I found one of those on Poshmark right now in pretty good condition for $35. So if it's better than an R1 and it's $35, I think that's a total steal. So anyway, follow me on Twitter there. And if you have any questions, throw a comment down below and I will do my best to get to it and answer it. So look forward to seeing what people think of the Das Parka, one of my favorite pieces of gear of all time. And hopefully I'll be able to get in the newest generation one soon and be able to compare that. If not, I got a Macro Puff hoodie review coming up and the Hyper Puff hoodie coming up in the upcoming weeks, and then the three-way comparison, which should be pretty good. Have a good one and get outside. Peace.